What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 682. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the line, all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, what's going on, buddy? How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. You know, we're just cubing up a storm over here. Like, we've got the best format in Magic up. There's really no complaints on my side.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing that actually on the show this week. This is our draft walkthrough episode. So what we're going to do this week is we are going to do a full draft of the Brothers War. Again, we love to do these episodes once per set for a couple of reasons. One, it's fun. Like, we really enjoy doing this, and it lets Luis and I kind of combine brains and you know, work through some of the different decisions that we have. And we think that that's valuable for you as well, to see what two players who've drafted this set a heck of a lot, how they kind of approach it and what types of considerations go into the picks. And then also, because Crack-A-Packs can only get us so far, right? It's a good snapshot of what we would do to very much start off a draft. But once you're out of the first pick or two, all of those ideas go out the door. And instead, you have to start to adjust the way that you approach picks and that type of thing. And if that's the case, you know, we can show you an entire draft here, and that'll help you navigate those and get a chance to see how we do it as well. So we're going to do that. And then we are going to do a vintage cube draft on here as well. It's, as Luis said, the best format. One of the best things that you can do in gaming is a vintage cube. And we're going to sit down together and go through and draft some nonsense pile as well, so that you can get the same information from that. So that's what we're going to do on the show this week. Before we do, let's talk about our sponsor, TCGplayer.com and ChannelFireball.com. They've teamed up to create a subscription that every Magic player needs. You can get exclusive CFB Pro content, as well as free shipping and tracking on direct by TCG player orders, plus bonus bucks and awesome promos at tcgplayer.com. The price, $6.99 a month. I've got a link in the show notes for that. Also, if you want to buy anything over at TCG Player through their marketplace, just normal, you know, cards and product and stuff like that, there's a link in the show notes for that. It's an affiliate link, and it lets them know that we sent you over there, and then it helps support the show as well. So we appreciate it if you do want to pick up some Magic cards from TCG Player. If you'd use that link, all you have to do is click on it, nothing else. Otherwise, it's just the regular website and everything. It just lets them know that we sent you, and we thank them for their support of the show. We also want to thank you for your support of the show via the Patreon. It's patreon.com/limited resources. If you want to sign up, you get a thank you card and a sticker in the mail, no matter what level you're at. And as you go up, you get access to some cool extra perks, behind the scenes stuff, uncut recordings of the show, that kind of thing. It's all there at patreon.com/limited resources. And once again, we wanted to say thank you to everybody who supports us over there. It really does mean the world. One of the things you get access to is Patreon question of the week. This one comes from James, who says, "Hi guys, Luis, in some prior episodes, you've mentioned that you played fighting games when you were younger. As such, I just wanted to hear your take on Evo Moment 37, Daigo versus Justin Evo 2004, and what you think the closest equivalent to Magic is." Does that mean anything to you, Luis? All those words?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that this is in Street Fighter, like Third Strike, when Daigo was playing Ken and his opponent was Chun-Li. And so the way in Street Fighter works, if you block, especially a special move, you take a little bit of chip damage, right? Uh-huh. And this version of the game, or like this Street Fighter, had a thing called parry, where if you pressed forward right when someone hit you, it blocked. It went shh. You let your character did a little block, but you had to time it really well. It was hard to do, but it was a way that you would block without taking damage. It would just block their attack. And Chun-Li has, Chun-Li's special move where she kicks a million times.
The spin, yeah, uh-huh.
Not the spin where she's upside down. The one where she's doing her like lightning leg.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So she has a special move where she goes boom, zoops towards you, and then kicks a million times. And if you block it, so Daigo's at a life total where if he blocks it, he's going to die. But he was able to pull off like one of the best, plays in in Street Fighter history where he blocks. Actually, yeah, this is it. It's a minute long. Let me link it to you so you can watch it. It's very short while I'm talking here.
Okay.
I'll throw it in the chat here.
Okay, I'm in.
But he's able to block every single attack and then counter hit for victory.
Wait, you mean he's able to parry every single?
Parry. Yeah, he's able to parry every single attack, and it still might be the best of all time Street Fighter moment, at least the one I know. Like
I'm watching this right now, so he's on very low.
Yeah, so he's Ken. He's on very low health, and then see, look, boom, super move, parry.
Wow, this is weird. You're lining this up exactly where I'm talking. He did this to every. Oh, that was sweet. I don't even know what's happening, and that was cool.
But it's the sickest play ever, basically.
Wow,
and it is just absolutely incredible. The best comparison to Magic. I don't know what the best comparison to Magic would be. It would be like probably there's some match with like Kai or something where his opponent has like 7 things and he has nothing, and he just top decks 4 turns in a row to stop every single thing or whatever.
Right.
Like something along those lines is kind of what I'm thinking here.
Yeah, because our game's more subtle, right? Like, it's not like you can brute force skill your way through, right? Like what we saw here, where he just did something that was extremely difficult to pull off, but actually did it, right? Think in sports, right? You can do that. Like if you play basketball, you can shoot a basket from 40 feet. You're not going to make it very often, but if you just hit it at the right time, all of a sudden it makes this amazing moment. Some of the stuff that's come up in Magic has been coverage based, right? Like we talk about the lightning helix that Randy Buehler called, right? And that moment was a cool, pretty big moment. He set it up well, but like if he wasn't calling it, it would have been pretty exciting, but ultimately forgettable, right? He kind of made that thing happen. And, because our game's kind of like that, right? It's not necessarily clear. The spots that I love to look for are when people recognize at some point that the plan that they're on isn't going to work and start taking high risk lines with incomplete information that have to kind of all come together, and then they do. And those are the moments that really stand out, but they're so much more subtle, right? They don't really resemble like what you just showed me on this clip. Man, that was sick.
Yeah.
I don't even play that. Yeah, that was awesome. I'll put a link in the show notes if anybody wants to check it out. The video has 5.7 million views. So I guess it was a big deal.
Yeah, it's just a really, really cool sequence of plays, and it was really impressive to watch. For everyone there live, I'm pretty jealous. I've never been to EVO myself. That's the biggest kind of Street Fighter gathering tournaments set. It's like a bunch of different tournaments. And it's really, really cool. And
this is proper old school. I mean, they're on CRT monitors. This is pre-iPhone. Like it's just a bunch of people in a room screaming. This is a time that has gone by now in the era of esports and stuff like that. But this was kind of the early stuff from that. Crazy. Okay. Let's we're not going to do a crack a pack, obviously, because we're jumping into the full draft. And like I said, we're going to start off with a Premier Draft Brothers War, which I'm going to jump into right now so that we can make sure to get queued up here. I haven't drafted Brothers War in a little while. Ever since the Vintage Cube came out, I kind of got Magic Online running again, and I've just been hammering that. But I played a lot of Bros, so I think it'll come right back. You too? You think you remember how to draft this format? I don't think you've been drafting it either, right?
I mean, not since the Vintage Cube started, but I've been drafting or I've drafted it enough times that I'm not too worried.
All right. So we table's ready. We're just making sure that everybody, including the annoying last person who always takes that last. There's always one. All right, we made it in. Okay, so our opening pack. Oh, this is too sweet. We opened Mesmeric Orb for our what's it called card, our retro artifact. Other cards that stand out, there's a Scrapwork Cohort, best common in the format. There's a Prison Sentence. There's Bushwhack. We might open that here and in Vintage Cube. Power Stone Fracture. There's Sardinian Cliff Stomper if you're into the whole mono-colored thing. There's also Boulder Branch Golem, which has become an important common in the format. I would slam Scrapwork Cohort here myself, though.
Yeah, I would too. It's colorless. It's maybe the best card in the pack. Like even if your deck, was set up for it, the Cliff Stomper is probably a little bit better. But I think that the Prison Sentence, the Scrapwork Cohort is just going to be reliably the best card in the pack and no commitment. So really, really big delta between that and what would be next if this wasn't in the pack. I guess we would still be taking a white card. We take Prison Sentence.
Yeah, Prison Sentence, and then the Golem stands out. The Cliff Stomper does have a high upside. Mesmeric Orb is funny because you and I had all those conversations about it. All right, next pack up, we've got a rare, but it's Hercule's Final Meditation, not playable. The uncommons, Soul Guide, Lantern, Slagstone Refinery, no one left behind. So there's nothing there for us. Looking down the line, there is another Boulder Branch Golem. There's your favorite survivor of Corliss here. Yeah. There's a Deadly Riposte. This is a pretty weak pack overall. Ravenous Gigamole. For me, it would be between Survivor and Boulder Branch Golem, and I would actually probably take the Golem.
No, you wouldn't take either of those cards.
What am I missing here?
Soul Guide Lantern.
Oh, sure.
You're definitely just taking the artifact cantrip to go with your
this
first
one
pick artifact.
This is on the lower end for me. I don't like having
it's not as good as Ichor Wellspring or Elsewhere Flask, but I think it's a really easy Soul Guide Lantern here, and part of the strength of Survivor you can wheel most of the time. You generally have as many as you want.
Yeah,
and
Boulder
Branch is just okay.
I like it a lot. I'm the last decks that I was winning a ton with, I was pretty high on it. Like
I just don't think it. I think that taking again delay because Boulder Branch is a green card.
Yes.
So delaying which color you want to be by taking a strict colorless card, because Scrapwork Cohort is also a colorless card.
Yes.
And then taking cards that really lean into this like artifact sack theme, whether it's you pick up some red cards or you end up in mono white and don't worry about it, or you end up in a blue deck and have things like Mightstone's Animation. Though, yes, I see that your pick is now
I was
just
like,
chilling there.
Hey, I never got that. I did take the artifact, but it didn't make it over. And yeah, there we go. All right. We're back up again. 25 seconds. Ooh, there's a Loren, Disciple of History, and a Yoshin Frontliner, Phalanx Guard, Vanguard here. Ooh, Zephyr Sentinel also?
Zephyr Sentinel's good too. I think given this situation, I would take the Yoshin Frontliner. Like, you're trending towards white at this point. I found Loran to be fine, but really a little less good than I thought at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like Zephyr Sentinel, but you mentioned that the cohort is technically colorless, but we would like to be able to bring it back. So those go well together. All right, next pack: Jalem Tome, no. Spectrum Sentinel, no. Thran Power Suit, no. So what are our commons? Power Stone Engineer, meh. Emergency Weld, that card's okay. There's an Epic Confrontation down here.
I've been pretty unimpressed with Epic Confrontation. I think I'd lean towards Emergency Weld because you still have a great setup for being something like Red-Black.
Yeah.
And maybe you splash a white source off Chromatic Star, one Plains, and an Evolving Wild so you can unearth your Frontliner and your Scrapper cohort. But this is a good setup for Red-Black or a good setup for White-Black. I've also found White-Black to just be a good archetype.
Yeah, same. I like Epic Confrontation a little more, but than you said. I think it's pretty good. Like, it's cheap and affects the board directly and leads to attacks that you often wouldn't get. But I do prefer Emergency Weld over it in general. Battlefield Butcher. There's a Cradle Clear Cutter. Another Survivor. There's a Warlords Elite. I like that card a lot. There's a Pendragon Strongbull in this pack as well. We are in pack 1, pick 5, so that's a sight to see. And then there's a Perimeter Patrol as well.
Easy Strongbull, and this is why I like taking things like Soul Guide Lantern and Yoshin Frontliner so much. Mm-hmm. You've set yourself up to take advantage of the 5th pick Strongbull, whereas had we dipped and taken 2 colored cards of 2 different colors or 2 of the same color even, it might not be as easy. But here I think you just easily take Strongbull. You've got 4 artifacts so far. I mean, Emergency Weld isn't technically an artifact, but it does generate usually 2 artifacts because you usually bring one back.
Yeah. How close is it to Warlords Elite for you? Because we are frontlining and scrapwork cohorting, so that does fit into the white.
It's close. I think it would be reasonable to take Warlords Elite too, but I think that a 5th pick Strongbull, they're both pretty good signs. And this works nicely now because our rare here in the pack still is Key to the City that lets you make a creature unblockable, and then when it's untapped, you pay 2 to draw a card. Really good with the Strongbull.
Oh, yeah. Strong like bull. Let's go for the key to the city. There's also a military discipline, Thraxodemon. That's about it. Oh, there's
There's a
another
wing
epic
commando.
confrontation.
I
Oh,
think
and a wing commando.
Wing
Okay.
Commando solid. I mean, I think there was a world where we could have ended up blue white soldiers too, though I like this direction better based on the packs we've seen.
All right. Key to the city in the pile here. Argivian Avenger. Out of our next pack, there's a Scrapwork Rager. There's an Evolving Wilds, an Energy Refractor.
I'm liking this energy refractor. This is exactly how I want to be unearthing white cards in a red black deck, and also just feeds the strong bull and is just a good card overall.
What is this Strongbow doing?
It's carrying a bunch of kids, hopefully to somewhere safe, not to some other.
Yeah, let's just assume that he's carrying them to safety. Okay, next. Ooh, Mishra's Bauble.
Look at that. A Mishra's Bauble, 8th pick. I mean, this format's great. When Cube, I guess when Cube's over, the Phyrexia All Is One comes out, but I'm still looking at this and being like, man, this was a great format, and I played a lot of it.
There's another Wing Commando as well as Gix's Caress. I came up a lot on Gix's Caress. I still can't explain to you why that card performs well in the format, but it does. Like, this is a format where I wouldn't want to play 3 mana, to take a card away, yet I play it all the time.
So I believe the reason is that even though the format is fast and typically playing discard spells, even targeted ones in a fast format's not great. The fact that a lot of the format is set up for your Strong Bull or your Warrior Lord's Elite, like you're like, I'm going to play Survivors of Corliss and other crappy 1-drop artifacts to play a turn 3 Warlord's Elite, and then you Gix's Caress their Warlord's Elite. That works pretty well.
Our wheel pack has a Mesmeric Orb in it, so it also has Mishra's Juggernaut still here, as well as a Boulder Branch Golem and an Evolving Wilds. I like the dogs here.
I like the Juggernaut. This is looking nice. I mean, also look at this right now. You've got 1 black card in Emergency Weld, 1 red card in Strong Bull, and then a red card with Mishra's Juggernaut that has red unearth cost, plus 2 cards that have white unearth costs. You don't have to be black or red. You could easily switch out of either. And that's why taking all these artifacts, taking Mishra's Bauble, Soul Guide Lantern, Energy Refractor, if you open a really strong blue card, a Sky Strike, commander, whatever that dude is, the 2/3 flyer that makes soldiers when you attack, you just get to take it. If you open, an awesome white card, you can take it. And another Emergency Weld over Gixian Infiltrator and Whirling Strike. So 2 black cards and a red card in a pack with 5 cards left is not a bad place to be.
Yeah, so just to recap, we're taking Emergency Weld. The prior pack, I took Ravenous Gigamole out of a pack with nothing. So we've got Bauble, Yoshin Frontliner, Soul Guide Lantern, double Emergency Weld, Energy Refractor, Key to the City, Pendragon Strongbow, Scrapwork Cohort, a Gigamole that we're probably not going to play, and a Mishra's Juggernaut. 4 cards left in the pack, and doesn't look like there's anything here. Sure, I'll just take the Jalem Tome and put it in the sideboard. Springleaf Drum, the Survivor of Corliss, and a Tomacool Scrapsmith are our last 3 cards.
I'd probably take Springleaf Drum. I have been pretty unimpressed with the Scrapsmith, and I find that you can pick 1 or 2 up if you want them, because people don't tend to take them very highly. And they're one of the first cards I cut. Oh, there we go. We opened a Siege Veteran as the rare, and now we just take it. It's just one of the best rares in the set. And we just either cut red or black, or just play 3 colors depending on where we end up.
Yeah, I mean, right now, double Emergency Weld with Siege Veteran. Like, it dies a lot, right? You can bring it back. The rest of the pack, by the way, is pretty nice. There's Howling Mine. There's a Static Net, which is one of the best, if not the best, uncommons. Reconstructed Thopter, which is decent. There's a Disfigure in this pack. That's about it. But yeah, we got Siege Veteran. This is one of the best rares, like you said. So easy slam here.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the reward you get for not being super deep into 2 other colors. Like, Siege Veteran's good enough and somewhat splashable, though obviously playing it on turn 7 is not as impressive, that even if you were deep into red-black, you might be like, oh, I can splash it. But part of taking cards like Energy Refractor, not only does it make it so you have fixing because Refractor fixes, but it also makes it so you're just less committed to a color. And that still kind of continues here, because our uncommons are Repair and Recharge, Spotter Thopter, and Chromatic Star, along with Reconstructed Thopter. But Chromatic Star, I think, is like a pretty clear pick. You might be playing 3 colors, who knows? And also, it's just a cheap artifact for all the synergies you have.
Yeah, Chromatic Star is in that top tier. You know how I was kind of whining about the Soul Guide Lantern? It's because it's not a Chromatic Star. Like that's what I actually want this card to be. This card, Chromatic Star, does the things. And there's subtle differences between these as well. This one says when Chromatic Star is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card, right? That means you can feed it to the bull and still get your card back out of it, etc. Yep. So we're going to take Chromatic Star here, pack 2, pick 2. See what we come up with, pack 2, pick 3. Battlefield Butcher, let's see. There's an Excavation Explosion, a Power Stone Fracture. There's a Scrapwork Mutt, which actually has become the best common, I think even higher than the Cohort in the later part of the format.
Yeah, I think that taking the Scrapwork Mutt would make some sense. You could also take the Explosion. Your colors are a little unclear because you really only have 4 cards that have colored costs. You have 2 Emergency Welds, a Siege Veteran, and a Strongbow. So that is across 3 colors.
Bizarre.
Easily could take any 3 of these. The Mutt is playable under every circumstance. It's colorless and has only a red flashback.
Yeah, I'll take the Mutt, I guess.
I'm kind of in for Mutt.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I'm
close.
leaning
You could
towards
also take
Explosion.
Explosion.
Yeah, I'll take the Explosion.
Just take Explosion. You have no interaction yet, so it's probably a good idea to. Oh, this works nicely because next pack there's an Elsewhere Flask, which I do really like, but there's also another Excavation Explosion, and you could just end up being 3 colors here. You just picked up a Chromatic Star.
Yeah, there's also an Evolving Wild tier, pack 2, pick 4 that could wheel. There's an Ambush Paratrooper in the Flask, as you mentioned. There's also a Monastery Swift Spear, which is okay. But yeah, picking up another Explosion gives us, for red spells, we have Pendragon Strongbow and 2 Excavation Explosion, which is like, that's a pull.
Plus the Unearth on Mishra's Juggernaut. And then for black, you just have 2 Emergency Welds, which you can splash or cut either way. And then white has the Siege Veteran plus Unearth on Yoshin Frontliner and the Scrapwork Cohort. So yeah, you're leaning a little more towards red-white here. And now it's a pretty conveniently a Scrapwork Mutt shows up, which I think is a pretty clear pick over Energy Refractor. It's just, it does the kind of thing a lot better. It doesn't fix your colors, but now that you've taken 2 Excavation Explosions, you're already pretty set into playing red anyway.
Yeah, there's a Disenchant in this pack and the Refractor, but yeah, Scrapwork Mutt is the easy pick. So this is pack 2, pick 5 Mutt. So that's a nice pickup for us as well. Yeah, so our deck right now is Bauble. We do have a Military Discipline, Yoshin Frontliner, Chromatic Star, not Goblin Firebomb, Soul Guide Lantern, Springleaf Drum, Double Emergency Weld, Energy Refractor, Key to the City, Siege Veteran, Excavation Explosion ×2, Pendragon Strongbow, Scrapper Core, and a Juggernaut. Next is pack 2, pick 6, and it's got
nothing really that you're interested in. You don't really want a 3rd Emergency Weld. That card does kind of hit a diminishing returns wall because you draw 2 of these when you have nothing in your graveyard. It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yoshin Medic isn't that exciting. Aeronaut's Wings is probably the pick here, to be honest. You don't have a lot of creatures, but none of them fly. And I just think Yoshin Medic and Takesha's Onulet are just not very strong. And these are the 2 cards you're most likely to cast.
Yeah, this is a fairly weak pack, but we'll take.
There is a Bitter Reunion, but Bitter Reunion's a card I find I basically never play because I'd rather play the artifacts that do the same thing. If there's only so much time you can spend spinning wheels and turning mana into cards.
Check out this next one. Pack 2, pick 7, Pendragon Strongbow.
Red seems open from both directions.
There's a Swift Spear here too.
White doesn't really, and neither does black, but that's okay. You're pretty insulated because first of all, one of your colors is open. That's usually enough to begin with. Second, you're just taking a bunch of artifacts. So now you're going to end up being 6 red cards, 3 white cards, and the rest artifacts, or something along those lines is what this is looking like.
Pack 2, pick 8. So the pick before our wheel. Not much for us here. There's an Evangel of Synthesis, Deadly Repose, Veterans Powerblade, Scatter Ray, Third Path Savant, Tanos' Tinkering, Killzone Acrobat, and a Gix's Caress. Womp.
Yeah, you could probably take one of the black cards, even though you're not that likely to play them. Definitely can't take an equipment, and I think Deadly Riposte is just such a weak card that I'm not that impressed. On the other hand, Disfigure did table here. It's probably worth taking Disfigure, and you might end up being like red-black with 1 Siege Veteran off of a couple sources, or just something like if you play 16 lands, let's say you play like 8 or 9 mountains and then like 4 swamps, 4 plains, or 3, 4 and 3.
Yeah.
And then end up with just like a couple cards of each color.
All right, Pack 2 we took the disfigure. Pack 2 pick 10, another military discipline. There's a Mightstone's animation, Clay Revenant, Dredging Claw, Gixian Skullflayer, and a Rock Hunter. So kind of a bunch of junk. Maybe the Revenant here.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to play any of the cards out of this pack.
None of these cards matter, yeah.
I don't really like playing artifacts or creatures that aren't artifacts if I can help it, and Rock Hunter's not good enough. So.
Okay, Pack 2 pick 11 has Calamity's Wake, Battlefield Butcher, Letnam Adept, Urza's Rebuff, and Power Stone Fracture. With all these random artifacts, the Fracture seems good.
This looks like a good Power Stone Fracture deck, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll take that.
All right, so black has seemed a little more open now. Moment of Defiance plus some blue and green cards that you don't care about. Moment of Defiance on the Strongbow can lead to some decent swings.
It can. One way or the other.
True.
Sack your board, go for the moment they kill it. Last 3 cards out of Pack 2 pick 3, there's a Goring Warplow.
Yeah, I'm always in for a 2-mana artifact or a 6-mana artifact.
Mm-hmm. So we'll take it. So yeah, black has seemed a bit more open here down the stretch. As we wind down pack number 2, I'll go over our deck currently. It's Mistress Bauble, probably not military discipline, Yoshin Frontliner, Disfigure, wow, Trench Stalker last pick, Soul Guide Lantern, Springleaf Drum, Emergency Weld ×2, a Power Stone Fracture, a Scrapwork Mutt, an Aeronaut's Wings, an Energy Refractor, Key to the City, Siege Veteran, Moment of Defiance, 2 Excavation Explosion, 2 Pendragon Strongbow, a Scrapwork Cohort, maybe a Trench Stalker, a Juggernaut, and a Goring Warplow. Pack 3, pick 1. Teething Wormlet is our rare. Uncommons are Audacity, Battery Bearer, Pristine Talisman, and Slagstone Refinery, so a bunch of junk. In our perspective colors, there's 1 black card in the whole pack, and it's Ashnod's Intervention. There's a white card, and it's Recommission, and there's a red card, it's Constricted Infantry. So this is just a terrible pack for us.
Yeah, we're going to, I think, take Goring Warplow, which we got with 3 cards in the pack last pack. But yeah, so it goes. I mean, you opened a Siege Veteran in this draft, which is pretty far above the average, so not too bad. And got past a mythic rare, Arcane Proxy, but not one for us, I don't think. On the other hand,
there's pack,
Prison Sentence, Overwhelming Remorse, and Scrapwork Mutt. And I think with the 2 explosions and the Disfigure and the Power Stone Fracture, you should definitely take Scrapwork Mutt here.
Oh, you think so? Okay. With the 2...
You have 4 removal spells already, so missing out on Remorse or Prison Sentence doesn't seem like a big deal to me.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll take Scrapwork Mutt. This is our second one of those. Ooh, there's an Ichor Wellspring.
Do love that. With double Strongbow, Ichor Wellspring's really tempting. And then there's also 4 red cards in this pack. There's Sardian Cliff Stomper, Goblin Blast Runner, Scrapwork Mutt, and Tomacool Scrapsmith. So pretty good chance you wheel one of those, and it's hopefully not the Scrapsmith. Right. Maybe 2 of those, even though Scrapwork Mutt's only partially a red card. Mm-hmm. Plus, there's also Energy Refractor and Evolving Wild. This pack just has all cards you want in it.
Yeah, so there's a good chance. So we'll keep an eye on this. Is pack 3, pick 3, so we'll see if we wheel something out of it. We still have a decent chance there, but we're going to take Ichor Wellspring. Ooh, Queen Kayla Ben Krug is our rare. What else is here? Nothing of note. Oh, cancel that. There's a Scrapwork Cohort over here.
There's a Scrapwork Cohort.
I would just take it. I would just take Scrapwork Cohort. Yeah. Yeah,
I think that you probably are fine to do that. You've got double Strongbow, which works so well with the Cohort. Like, you don't really need to try to splash Kayla, because she gets a lot worse if you don't play her on curve.
That's right. You really want to have cards in hand when she's on the battlefield so you can take advantage. So we'll take Scrapwork Cohort. Also, it fits well in our current curve where, I don't think we're going to play Trench Stalker. We have Mishra's Juggernaut and then 2 Goring Warplow, but those can be 2. So cohorts actually are second most.
This military discipline just won't get out of here. It's really surprising how badly you seem to want to play military discipline.
I took it out. I was to say I showed a little discipline and took it off of the main deck here. So there's Disfigure and Recruitment Officer.
I think I just Disfigure here.
Yeah, we know we're going to be in black. We're primarily black-red. White is going to be our splash color, which means that Recruitment Officer gets a little bit tough.
Yeah.
Especially because if you want to activate it. Oh, there's another military discipline. So this does get interesting. this next pack, this is pack 3, pick 6, has another disfigure, but that would be our third disfigure. And you do start to see some diminishing returns, but there's also another Mistress Juggernaut.
Oh yeah, I'm in for another Juggernaut. I think
I am too.
Your curve can afford another Juggernaut, and disfigured X3 is really not where you want to be.
Can I kill the Aeronaut's Wings yet?
Yeah, the Aeronaut's Wings is out of here.
All right, so we're going to take Mishra's Juggernaut here. This deck is coming together. It looks cool. It's all colorless cards. Wow. Pack 3, pick 7. No, this is pack 3, pick 7.
Oh, pack 7. Wow. Okay.
It's just here.
All right. Well,
if we're splashing white, then Static Net is the type of card that you want to splash for.
Yeah. I mean, because at this point, you can also just cut the Moment of Defiance, most likely. And like I said, play like 3 planes. You can probably afford 3 planes in your deck, plus the Chromatic Star and the Refractor. Maybe a 4th, depending on how things go.
Mm-hmm. All right, this is pack 3, pick 8. So this is right before our wheel. And there's not much here. There's Mishra Excavation Prodigy, which didn't turn out to be a great card. There's a Scrapwork Rager, which we're down on. Maybe you can put it in your deck. Yeah,
not super impressed with it. I mean, I think you could go either way there.
I'll just take the Rager. There's a decent chance that neither of those make the cut. All right, here's our first wheel pack from pack 3, and there's nothing, but this is also the pack that we opened that had nothing when we opened it.
It has a recommission, and it's possible when we go to build here, we want to end up maybe giving up on like the disfigures and being like red, white, splashing black. Oh, look, Prison Sentence wheeled as well.
Wow. Why? Okay, I'm in. Yeah, no, you're right. This is one of those things where we've kind of gone down a couple of different paths during the draft, but we really need to have a blank slate during the deck build to say, well, what do we actually have here? Like, how important is disfigure?
Oh, right. Goblin Blast Runner. That's the one I wanted to wheel the most, actually.
You got it, Luis. Your boy, the Goblin Blast Runner, came back out of that pack. That was the pick 3 that we were talking about wheeling. It had the Evolving
4
Wilds.
red cards.
Exactly, yeah. So Goblin Blast Runner, welcome to the team. Red's the only color that we know we're playing. Pack 3, pick 12, nothing. There's just nothing here. Not even gonna bother. And it looks like the end of the pack isn't going to yield us anything playable as well, except for another military discipline that we're not going to play. Okay, so that covers the draft. Now, I'm going to tell you where we're at here, dear listener, and then we'll start building. Right now, we have 47 cards, including 12, including the 17 lands. So right now, we have a Mishra's in the ones. We have a Mishra's Bauble or zeros, a Yoshin Frontliner, 2 Disfigure, a Goblin Blast Runner, Chromatic Star, Soul Guide Lantern, and still the Springleaf Drum, which I'm wondering if we want. In the 2s, we've got Emergency Weld, Power Stone Fracture, 2 Scrapwork Mutt, 2 Emergency Weld, 2 Scrapwork Mutt, an Energy Refractor, an Ichor Wellspring, and a Key to the City. In the 3s, we've got a Prison Sentence, a Siege Veteran, 2 Excavation Explosion, and 2 Pendragon Strongbow. In the 4s, we have 2 Scrapwork Cohort, a Static Net, and a Scrapwork Rager. 5s, we have 2 Mishra's Juggernaut, and then the 6s, or even 2s if we're playing black, we have 2 Goring Warplow. Springleaf Drum?
I'm thinking we're probably not going to play Springleaf Drum.
We've got a lot of cuts to make here.
So if we cut all the black cards, let's say we just cut all the black cards. Probably not the Mishra's Juggernauts, but
how about the Goring Warplows?
The Goring Warplows kind of counter black.
The Welds, the Fracture, and the 2 Disfigures. And then we play Recommission. Military Discipline? No. We could still splash for black or whatever.
I don't even know if we need to, though. Like, we don't need removal. The one thing I guess I'd be interested in is maybe splashing an Emergency Weld because you have Recommission already.
Yeah.
Like, that already kind of...
Is it Power Stone Fracture?
I'm not super...
I mean, the issue here is that we need a playable. Like, we're short.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe 2 if you want to play 16 lands.
Right. But, we could do something colorless like a Rager.
Yeah, it could be like a Rager Goreplow type situation.
Right.
And like sometimes you'll just play it off of...
right.
You'll play like a Goreplow off of what cantrip early if you really want, or you just don't worry about it.
Yeah, and this, by the way, just like assuming, like if we're trying to compare our black cards to our white cards here, right? What we're really looking at is these two separate piles of cards that we actually are interested in having in the deck directly, right? And that's something along the lines of recommission, prison sentence, siege veteran, two scrapper cohort, static net versus two disfigure, power stone fracture, Gix's caress, and one or two goring war plow, and maybe a scrapwork rager, and then the two emergency welds. And I think it is very clearly white, right? Our best card in our deck for starters.
It's got the first, second, third, and fourth best cards.
Right. So that part's we've settled that. Red does beat out black here as well, right? With double excavation explosion, double pentagon strongbow, two scrapwork mutt, goblin blast runner, and then the two Mishra's juggernauts. Those are just better. Okay. Yeah. So if that's the case, then black is either out or our tertiary color. We just have to sort out, which one it is.
Yeah.
So if we play straight up red white, we're at 39 cards. With 17 lands.
That's with 17 land. And this deck, I think, actually could be fine on 17. You've got two juggernauts and a key to the city as ways to and then some scrapbook cohorts.
Right. So the question becomes, do we actually want to splash a black card where, it might be emergency weld, it might be power stone fracture, or do we just want to throw in a random scrapwork rager that we can occasionally bring back?
So if we threw in scrapwork rager, did no other work, we have two ways to bring it back, right?
We have the chromatic star and the refractor.
Yeah.
It's a pretty weak 23rd spot, but I mean, our deck is awesome, and it actually fits too. It is also an artifact still.
Yeah, I think I would play that.
Is that how I do this? No.
And just play 17 lands, I guess. I think 17 and 16 are close enough that instead of playing a bad playable and to play 16 land, just play 17 land. It's fine.
Yeah, that seems fine to me. Okay, so here's our deck.
Pretty good, I think. I mean,
it's actually quite strong.
It's got the siege veteran, of course, as a bomb. It's got double strongbow with a lot of cheap artifacts, which is great. And it's got double excavation explosion static net as removal with two scrapwork cohorts, two juggernauts as resilience. So
yeah,
this is about what you want when you draft red white.
Yeah, heavy artifacts. So to go over it again, the zeros and ones are Mishra's Bauble, Yoshin Frontliner, Goblin Blast Runner, Chromatic Star, Soul Guide Lantern. The twos are Recommission, two Scrapwork Mutt, an Energy Refractor, an Ichor Wellspring, and a Key to the City. The threes are Prison Sentence, Siege Veteran, two Excavation Explosion, and two Pentagon Strongbow. Man, those threes are nasty. The fours are two Scrapwork Cohort and a Static Net. The four, okay, fine. It's just, the other four, I should say, is a Scrapwork Rager. And then the fives are two Mishra's Juggernaut. And currently, which I think is correct, probably we're on 9 Mountain and 8 Plains.
Yeah, I mean, your mana is perfect, which is an argument for playing one swamp or something, but I just don't even think you need to.
Yeah, I think not too. Okay, so there's our deck. How do you grade that deck? What do you think?
Oh, that's really good. 8.5, maybe 9.
Yeah, it seems super
It just doesn't really get much better. I don't know. You've got a bunch of removal. You've got yes, a deck with 3 bombs will maybe be better, but one bomb and we're talking one of the top 5 cards in the set, plus a good removal, plus a good curve, plus a cohesive game plan. That's you can't I would. If there was a Brothers War Pro Tour and I was given the option of that deck versus drafting a new one, I'd always take that deck.
Yeah, for sure.
If there's a Arena Open, it's what deck do you want on day 2? That or a mulligan, or would you mulligan? I'm no.
Right. And, you can see if you haven't touched this format very much that there's a big lean for both Luis and I to take the cheaper board impacting cards. And we got a ton of them in this draft. Okay. So now we got to take off our bro drafting hat and put on our vintage cube drafting hat. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about leading into the actual draft that we're going to do here on the show was a tweet that you had put up. I saw that Caleb Durward also put one up similar of the top 50 cards in Vintage Cube, and you put them up in order too, right? I mean, maybe not nitpick every single, this can't be better than that, but you have these in order as well. And we'll put those up on the screen now, but I'll go through them We'll go through them on here as well to kind of give people an idea of the type of cards, because things done changed in the vintage cube. Like if you come in with the 2 years ago mindset, you are way, way behind the curve now. So here's how Luis breaks down his top 50 cards. So number 1, Black Lotus. Number 2, Time Walk. Number 3, Ancestral Recall. Then the Moxen. Then Mana Crypt. Then Soul Ring. So that's your first 10.
Yeah, okay. and honestly, these are the least important 10 of on the list in terms of ordering, because if you open any combination of these, you're just really lucky. It doesn't. I think you could make an argument for Soul Ring above the Moxes. That's totally fine. Sure. I think you can make an argument for Black Lotus not being first. That's also fine, but it doesn't matter. Like these are great. And one of the things that prompted me to make this list was, there's some lists floating around by people who do not have Time Walk or Ancestral Recall like in the top 15 cards or 20 cards. And it's like, yeah,
that's too cute.
I will say that if your goal is to go into the 8-player drafts and force, or not hard force, but like really biased towards mono white or mono red or something in that realm where you don't like blue, then yes, you should put those cards lower because you're not going to draft around them. But I think if your goal is to improve the most at Vintage Cube and win, I think you should be taking Time Walk and Ancestral really high. Like those cards are broken.
Right, because the true strategy, right, would be to recognize that mono white is really strong, is a really strong deck, and learn how to draft it properly, but not force it. Right, like it's not like if you open Ancestral Recall, you shouldn't take it. I mean, even splashing it's really powerful. So there's the first 10. Now we get into some bangers right off the bat, because the next card up is Minsk and Boo Timeless Heroes, which has been on everybody's list as kind of a bullet. And boy, you really are riding the wave here. Is this a recency bias, or is this card that good?
So for those who don't know what this card does, which I don't blame you, it's 2 red green.
I have no idea what set it's from still.
It's 2 red green for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. When it enters the battlefield and during your upkeep, you may put a Boo token into play. That's a 1/1 trample haste hamster. +1, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature with trample or haste. Obviously, you can put them on Boo, and you immediately get a Boo when you play this. So by itself, this is a 4 loyalty once you use the +1 planeswalker that comes to play with a 4/4 trample haste.
Yes.
So it just imagine your opponent plays a planeswalker and then you play this and attack and kill their planeswalker. It's right?
Disgusting. Yes.
It also has a -2 ability, and the -2 is sacrifice a creature. If you do, Minsk and Boo deals X damage to any target, and if that creature was a hamster, draw X cards where X is that creature's power.
Which is absolutely insane.
So the play pattern, there's basically 2 main play patterns. You play this, make a 4/4, immediately attack them for 4. On your next turn, you can either make it into 4/4 into a 7/7, or you can throw it at something and draw 4 cards. And in a strict race, just going, play this, attack for 4, next turn attack for 7, next turn attack for 7, throw it at you, that's 18 damage over 3 turns. And you draw 7 cards for that matter. So, yeah, the card's absolutely absurd. And I think it's the best non-power card in the cube. Like, I just think that
people have to recognize how strong of a sentence that is. That's incredible, especially for a 4-mana planeswalker.
You want to hear something kind of chilling. Mm-hmm. The first card on the list that wasn't printed in the first 5 years of Magic or the last 5 years of Magic is 24th.
Oh my God. That's a crazy way to look at it. When things were broken because they didn't know any better, and when things are broken because they want to push the boundaries and sell cards or whatever. Yeah, crazy. So next up, is Oko, Thief of Crowns, which has been a great card in the cube for a while. This next one, I'm 100% with you. Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer. Man, I take this card over almost everything. It's awesome in the cube. Like, you play this thing on turn 1 and your opponent's like, oh man, like, it gets them good.
That's just game if they don't have a way to kill it. Mana Vault, some more fast mana, though I think weaker than the other fast mana. And then we've got Solitude, then Mana Drain, then Fury. And Solitude and Fury are both the pitch elementals from Modern Horizons. Modern Horizons 2, I guess? I don't know.
They are sick cards.
And so the reason these are so good, because I got some questions about why these are so high, is if your opponent's off to a fast start into the early game, you can pitch cast them, and that's really effective. And in Vintage Cube, you need answers, right? Your opponent turn 1 tries to, if they turn 1 try to Shallow Grave Emerald Cool you, Solitude actually is an answer there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then And then later in the game, when you actually cast them, they're just massive card advantage machines where you cast one of these, kill one, or in the case of Fury, two things, and then end up with a big burly creature in play. Mana Drain, still very good. And again, if you're completely unwilling, or at least mostly unwilling to draft blue cards, yeah, you're not going to put Mana Drain this high on the list. But like if you cast Mana Drain and your opponent, doesn't like stop you from doing that, you counter their turn 2 or 3 play and then play multiple turns ahead of schedule, or just make 2 medium plays.
It's one of the swingiest cards in the format. Yeah.
Next up, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So this is another recent card, which is just absurd. And I think, I've been winning a lot, like more than normal this Cube season. And I think a big part of that is that people haven't really adjusted to the new cards. I'll get a 7th pick Minskin Boo. I wheeled Fable the Mirror Breaker yesterday in pack 1. And
I've been winning a lot more too. And it's by playing the new cards basically.
Yeah. The new cards are just also good.
Yeah.
You got Demonic Tutor, Library of Alexandria, which I'm higher on now than I used to be.
I was going to say this one used to be really high and then it really fell out of favor, but it's back.
The reason I like Library so much now is I think it's just so important to draft all these cheap interactive spells, and Library just goes so well with that.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Swords to Plowshares, great. Shieldred the Apocalypse, there's another new card. 2 black, 4/5 Death Touch. When you draw a card, gain 2 life. When your opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. And the reason I like Shieldred is it hoses combo decks, right? They can't cast their draw 7s. It's great with your own draw 7s. If you've ever had the pleasure of casting Wheel of Fortune or Time Twister,
it's
with
so
Shieldred in
awesome.
play. It's amazing.
You get this stack of triggers that looks like you storm comboed on them. Yeah.
And against aggro, it's a 4/5 Death Touch. If they don't have a Swords to Plowshares or Path to Exile or something, they're probably pretty boned. Like you play this against mono
because it buffers your life total too.
Yeah, you play this turn 3 against mono red. They don't kill it, can't attack with a ground creature, and you're gaining 2 life a turn, or you cast like a Brainstorm and just the pop off.
Yeah.
Mind Twist, another card that I think is pretty good. I go back and forth on this one, but sometimes you just cast it and win. And then I've got Remand and a couple of slots lower, Mana Leak and a couple slots lower than that Counterspell. I still think the 2 mana interaction spells are really good, and I have Counterspell third of those.
And you have Miscalculation on a list too, so you covered all of the 2 mana.
I just think being able to spend 2 mana to stop their play is really good, and this is kind of agnostic where it's good against the combo or control decks or mid-range decks, but also against aggro. Casting Mana Leak is still pretty good. Remand, maybe a little less so, but still, they cast 3 mana spells. But anyway, after Remand, another new card, Lelia, the Blade Reforged, very strong card. 2/2 haste. When it attacks, exile the top card of your library. Whenever a card from your library or graveyard is exiled, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and you can play the card you exiled until end of turn.
I hate this design because you kill your opponent before you can use this spell.
It's true. You do.
It just hammers them so fast.
Caracas is another one that I think is very high because there's so many good legendary creatures. Like if your opponent plays Shieldred or Lelia and you play Caracas, you're really far ahead. And bouncing your own legends is also really good.
Yeah. I think Caracas is a really good note to 2 things that are happening in Vintage Cube. One of them is mono white still really good, or even better than it used to be. And 2 is Reanimator is still really strong. Like that's a deck I draft a lot, and Caracas is very good against it.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that I think the best reanimation target, which actually did make the list, is Archon of Cruelty.
It is. It's definitely the best one.
Got some black cards. Thoughtseize and Entomb are both very, very strong, very cheap.
Entomb's a nod to Reanimator.
Reanimator, yeah. Urza's Saga, which if you get any of the cheap artifacts, just becomes such a massive pain in the, the ass for your opponent, where you get to make multiple big golems, constructs, and you get to tutor up some stuff.
Yeah, and you can tutor up a Lotus or whatever.
Mana Leak, like I talked about. And then we hit a stretch of like cards that used to be higher up, Fractured Identity, Palace Jailer, Jason the Mind Sculptor. And a big part of it is any card that costs 4 or more mana is just a little worse than it used to be. We were talking about this before the show. Old standouts like Bribery, Glenalinja, Archmage, Treachery, not even on this list. And then Fractured Identity, Palace Jailer, and Jace, I think do have a big enough impact right away that they're still worth it. And 2 of those cost 4 instead of 5 mana. But yeah, I'm just so overpaying so much mana because there's look at these cards that are so effective and generally cheaper.
And this is really the most important part of your list to me, because I think that if you're like an average Vintage Cube player, you come in and you love those cards because the last year or so, those cards have been dominating. And look at how far they've fallen on the list to let you know, look, they're still great Magic cards. They have a very high individual power level, but this is the new, this shows to me, those would have been way higher on the list a year ago.
Yeah. Mox Diamond, acceleration at any cost.
Yeah, why is that? You and I almost never play Mox Diamond unless I know I can get cards back from the yard. But you and Kayla both have Mox Diamond on here. Maybe I'm just undervaluing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I find the card to be very effective.
I want draw sevens or recursion effects.
The thing is, like every card in Magic now just wins you the game. Like if you play a Lelia on turn 2, you're gonna win pretty fast. If you play a Oko, Minsk and Boo early, turn 2 Fable the Mirror Breaker gets you those cards back right away.
Interesting.
Like, when every permanent generates so
you
much
would play
card
it
advantage,
is Lotus Petal in that? Like, do you play it that too?
Lotus Petal I'm a little cooler on in these decks, though I sometimes play them like in the non-combo decks.
Okay.
Just because Mox Diamond at least accelerates you turns 1 and 2 and 3. Lotus Petal only gets you one. It's just the one shot.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll try out some more Mox Diamonds.
The best mana producing land is Prismatic Vista that sacks for any basic, just because it's a 5-color fixer with literally no work, right? You just have to put a basic in your deck. Mm-hmm. And then I have Scalding Tarn, which is a proxy for all 10 fetches.
Sure.
And because of tri-lands, I don't even think the fetches have that different valuations. Like it used to be that Scalding Tarn is a lot better than Windswept Teeth, for example. Mm-hmm. Now I don't really find that to be true. It is better, but it's kind of an irrelevant amount. Just because, both of those can get a Ketria Triumph just as well.
Right.
Then we got Reanimate and Archon of Cruelty, just nod to Reanimator. Lightning Bolt, cheap interaction, and this is just like kind of the gold standard for that. After Source Splashers.
Also, as we talked about earlier, best answer for Minsk and Boo because you can do it with a trigger on the stack, so they only get the 1/1.
Yep. Smuggler's Copter, a card I'm always scared to play against out of aggro.
So good. It's so annoying. Even decks that aren't creature heavy play it.
Yeah. And Strip Mine, which,
yes.
If there was more of these, the lands decks would be better, but I still think it does kind of the trick there. Dak Faden and Teferi Time Raveler, 3 mana planeswalkers, still very good. Mm-hmm. Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, and where if you take this, you're looking to take Sneak Attack, Channel, Shallow Grave, that sort of thing. Balance, a card I found to get better and better. I used to not be a big fan, but now as everyone is playing a lot more aggressive and assertive decks, it's good. Not good against planeswalkers, but it is very good with planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. Then you got Miscalculation, Force of Will, and Preordain, all just solid blue cards. And then I've got one which isn't really, it's kind of hard to capture here. The last card I have is Underworld Breach, which I generally would not advise first picking Underworld Breach. I don't think that's a good play, but I put it on here because one of my most winning combinations is Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, Brain Freeze. You don't have to first pick any of those. And in fact, in pack 1, a lot of them frequently wheel. But if you get all 3 together, it's a 2-mana win the game.
Yes.
And
I've seen you do this so many times. I started doing it. And when you get them together, you win the game.
And they also find each other. Whereas late in the game, if you go Breach, Brain Freeze, myself, it'll mill LED a good amount of the time. Mm-hmm. Or you just have 6 mana and you go Spell, Breach, Brain Freeze you, Brain Freeze you. And if it's late enough in the game, that's already enough. You play a 0-mana spell into those 3 or whatever. There's a lot of ways to do it. So I take the card a lot. I just don't generally recommend taking it first. But my ideal scenario is I spend my early picks on let's say I take a Scalding Tarn, a Mana Leak, in a Mox Diamond or something, and then I get an Underworld Breach. I'm like, oh, I'm well set up for this.
Okay. So great stuff, Luis, by the way. I loved this. I love this for Twitter, the top 50 list. It really does show kind of the changes that have happened. And if you can, we just went through it for you here, but even if you just saw the photo, you might be able to kind of go, okay, I kind of get an idea of what's going on in the cube. Speaking of what's going on in the cube, let's jump into the cube.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah. I'm going to give you final say on the pick. So if it's starting to get down to clock, you can fire off and I will be forced to play out whatever we come up with here. And based on watching your draft or your stream with BK, that's a little bit scary, but at any rate, here we go. We are in and we have opened up Zealous Conscripts. Wow. A lot of lands. Hymn to Turok, Daze, Jiraga, Tree Speaker, Putrid Imp, Batterskull, Repeal, and then a ton of lands and Acidic Slime and Adonto Vanguard.
Well, going by the top 50 list, you should take Verdant Catacombs, but that's true. That's also true. What I would recommend taking. This is a weak pack, but first picking a fetch land just leaves the door open for basically anything you want to be doing. The fetch lands are really good. I actually think this cube has slightly too much mana in it right now.
Yeah, the tri-lands feel like they put the balance off a little bit because I think they just added them. I don't know. I think if I were drafting and I opened this pack, I would take Days or Zealous Conscripts. I'm a fan of taking shots at really high level combos like Zealous Conscripts. This is the worst one to open, to be clear. Like if it was Deceiver Exarch, I would definitely take it.
Right.
So yeah, but you want Verdant Catacombs, you get Verdant Catacombs, my friend.
So the other thing is I do like the twin combo still, but I'm not willing to go in quite as early as I used to be. I think there's a lot of other ways to kind of get things done.
Okay, next pack has Elvish Mystic, Shriekmaw, Yuckelhops, Avenger, Bazaar of Baghdad, the Crap Bag Cityscape Leveler, Hero of Bladehold, Bomat Courier, Breeding Pool, Godless Shrine, Koldatha Forge Master, Lorna the Third Path, Snapdad, and Rakdos Signet.
Another pretty weak pack, and as much as I liked the Snapcaster Mage in the right deck, I don't think you're supposed to first pick Snapcaster Mage anymore, especially or early pick it, and especially when there's a Breeding Pool in the pack, and I think Breeding Pool's good. One thing I would note or caution against is I just don't think that Elvish Mystic is a great card to be taking anymore. Like, I'm not saying you can never take it, but it is not. Mono green is just really not a great strategy in my opinion.
It's mediocre. Yeah, it still does the thing, but it is much weaker than it used to be. And that's even when you get a good version of it.
Yeah.
Okay, Breeding Pool it is. Verdant Catacombs Breeding Pool. Next pack comes up. We've got Baral Thragtusk, Young Pyromancer, Dig Through Time, Sword of Fire and Ice, Arid Mesa, Croxa, Bayou, Ladmary's Call, Parallax Wave. People still play that for some reason. Makeshift Mannequin, Spectral Procession, and Fire Blast. Is this just the worst start to a draft ever? My God, These packs suck.
Well, yeah, but you get to take an Arid Mesa here, and now now you're set up for any kind of action you need, really.
Wow, I feel so free. I've got the the 25th best card or something out of your thing, I mean, times 2.
Sometimes, it doesn't end up working out that you get all the really powerful cards early, but you're going to be able to cast all your cards now, which I think is a pretty big benefit. So
you're giving me hope.
Well, see, look, now we've got some options here.
Business has arrived. So we've got, I'm going to start. I'll just read them. We got Thoughtseize, sure. Giver of Runes, Ketria Triumph, Chandra Torch of Defiance, Leovold, Armageddon, Rabble Master, Satoru Umezawa, why are you here? Smokestack, Woodfall Primus, Llanowar Elves, and last but not least, Pestermite. What do you like here? Leovold, Torch, Pestermite, Thoughtseize, Ketria
This is a
Triumph?
tough one. I'm not confident here. I think I would probably take Thoughtseize. I don't know. It's Thoughtseize or Chandra or Leovold. Those are all great. Yes. I wouldn't take the Pestermite here. I don't think it's terrible to take Pestermite here, but my inclination is not to snap off a twin piece fourth here. We did pass a Conscripts that might wheel, but that pack was weak enough that I kind of think it won't. I would probably just take Thoughtseize and just you don't really know where you're headed, and this gives you at least an early piece of interaction.
All right, next is Finale of Devastation, Questing Beast, Hero's Downfall, Hullbreaker Horror, Rashadan Port, Silent Clearing, Thespian Stage, Time Warp, Mother of Runes, Azorius Signet, Oblivion Ring. Imagine playing Questing Beast in the Vintage Cube.
It's got some...
I think if you would have asked me if Questing Beast was in the Vintage Cube, I might have said no. And I've done this, and I've drafted it 30 times or whatever. I don't even see that card. Anyway, what do you want to take here? Signet, Time Warp. We're obviously just ignoring all the good mono white cards, Mother of Runes.
I would probably just take Time Warp here.
I like that.
I think that's a decent place to be. I think Questing Beast may be a little better than you give it credit for, but
I think it's terrible.
But yeah,
it's also just I can't take the reputational hit of playing Questing Beast in Vintage Cube.
Okay, so now we've got Knight of the Reliquary. Somehow Aurelia the War Leader's in the cube. Elspeth Sun's Champion, Adeline Resplendent Cathar, 2 Tri-lands, Jetmir's Garden and Spara's Headquarters, then Dark Ritual, Spell Pierce, Show and Tell, and Magus of the Order. Definitely taking a Tri-land. I think Spara's headquarters, because that makes Arid Mesa into 4 colors and Verdant into 4 colors.
Yes, it does work with both of them.
And you have a double, and it's a blue card, and you have a double blue card. So,
yes,
because Jetmir's Garden
and
has the same arguments to it, but
yeah,
I think that's where I would go.
Okay, we'll take it. Hey, where'd you go? There we go. Next pack, we've got a Hex Drinker. I like that. Duretti, Braids, Escape to the Wilds, Expansion Explosion, Pian Kirin, Alar, Wrath of God, Foff, and Kitchen Finks.
I like Duretti. I like Duretti, especially with Time Warp, and you have Thoughtseize, so you're already playing low curve black cards. I think Duretti's a fairly effective card in general. There's also, you could take Factor Fiction.
Why do I like Duretti with Time Warp? Just because it's Planeswalker?
It's just a Planeswalker.
Okay.
Planeswalkers and Time Warps.
I'm looking at Hex Drinker and Foff is kind of standing out to me. What do you think?
I think I'd rather take Foff here.
You want Duretti?
I would take Foff.
All right, we'll take Foff. That's Factor Fiction.
Close.
This is our next pick. We've got Solitude, Duretti, Lion Sash, Luris, which you've done some filthy stuff with, Waterlogged Grove, Relic of Progenitus, Kadama's Reach, and a Lotus Petal.
I mean, this is easy. Solitude. We're getting a Solitude 8th pick here. It's pretty nice, and we can easily build around it, I think.
What kind of a deck do you see? Like, because obviously Mono White plays this every single time, but what decks outside of Mono White want Solitude?
Just any control deck or any mid-range deck. Like, obviously you want to play some white cards along with it, but I think you'll be able to figure some of those out. All
right, pack we opened. It has Repeal, 4 lands, Acidic Slime, and Adonto Vanguard. The lands are Badlands, Copperline Ridge, Gorge, Savannah, and Boseiju Who Endures.
So let's see. I think it's Badlands or Savannah. They're both pretty close. My guess is
probably Savannah with Solitude.
Savannah with the Solitude, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we've taken half lands, half spells so far. Next one has the
but the spells are decent.
They're pretty good, yeah. Bazaar of Baghdad, Hero of Bladehold, Godless Shrine, Kuldotha Forge Master, and a Rakdos Signet.
Well, I do like Godless Shrine, I think. Yeah, I don't like the Signets. That's another thing. The Signets I find
to be even play them anymore.
To be quite bad, yeah.
Next pack has Baral, Croxa, Eladamri's Call, Parallax Wave, and Spec Pro. Don't want any of these.
I don't think you want any of these. I think you could take Croxa.
All right, I'm just going to put it in the sideboard for
But
now.
I don't think you're that likely to play. Oh, wow. Leovold and Chandra both wielded. Your mana is looking perfect for Leovold here.
What happened? Wow, that's cool. I'm into it. Also, nobody's in Mono White. Giver of Runes and Armageddon still in the pack with 4 cards left. And we just saw Hero and
Clearly
Adonto.
No one's in Mono White, but this is a nice Leovold deck.
Yes.
I mean, Leovold, when you have the mana for Leovold, it's a very good card.
It's an excellent card, yeah. And I always look for draw 7s once I have it. Okay, so we're winding down pack 1. We've got Verdant Catacombs, Breeding Pool. Guess I'll take Silent Clearing over Hero's Downfall. Breeding Pool, Arid Mesa, Thoughtseize, Time Warp, Spara's Headquarters, Factor Fiction, Solitude, Savannah, Godless Shrine, Leovold in that order. And then a Silent Clearing. 2 cards left in the pack. So we're very much open here, right? Going into the second pack, Luis, where we can, take what comes to us here.
I mean, we've got enough lands at this point that I would assume we're not looking to spend more picks on lands. I think our lands are, Night of the Reliquary is actually a pretty nice pickup here.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, when you play Night on turn 3 and it's already a 4/4.
We do have a lot of fetches, don't we? We've already got 2 fetches and a cycling land. Okay, so that's the first pack. Again, we went land, Thoughtseize, Time Warp, land, Factor Fiction, Solitude, land, Leovold, land, Night of the Reliquary. So our mana is looking pretty strong. And in Cube, that is a tried and true strategy. The packs early didn't give us much to be super excited about. We get a last pick of Escape to the Wilds here.
Yeah, you might even play that one still.
Yeah, that is a playable Magic card. But this strategy does work well in Cube because the power level is so high and it's relatively flat in the sense of like every pack you open can have really strong stuff in it. And we've got 2 whole packs ahead of us with some pretty good mana. We've got 7 lands, a Thoughtseize, a couple of 3s, a 4, and a few 5s.
So basically the most important metrics here are we've got 2 fetch lands and a Triome and 3 duels, or 2 Triomes and 3 duels, rather. And we've got Thoughtseize and Leovold, as well as Solitude and Time Warp as reasonable, kind of expensive cards.
What kind of stuff are you valuing higher? You know, I was mentioning like draw 7s with Leovold, for example. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Draw 7s are definitely a big part of it. I've actually found a kind of funny little mini combo of Loran of the Third Path with
I draw and you don't?
Yeah.
That's dirty.
It's
All
pretty
right.
good.
Next pack, Dismember, Primeval Titan, History of Benalia, Mana Flare, Wandering Emperor, Creeping Tar Pit, Hollowed Fountain, Magda, Raging Ravine, Sacred Foundry, Upheaval, BK's favorite, Wishclaw Talisman, Basalt Monolith, Reanimate, and Tinker.
Not a big fan of this pack. This pack's also pretty weak, but I would take the Wandering Emperor because now you've got Solitude, so you don't mind upping your white count. You could also take Reanimate. I think that's a pretty reasonable pick.
I love a Reanimate.
Yeah, you do have a bunch of enough expensive cards. Maybe you just take Reanimate and just kind of see where things go from there.
It's so interesting drafting with you. Like, I would never take Wandering Emperor. I wouldn't even see it. It makes sense when you say it, but I do like
Reanimate here, though, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll take Reanimate. Next pack has Resto Angel, Noble Hierarch, Archangel Avacyn, Elspeth, Scarab God, Thousand Year Storm, Thundermaw, Hellkite, Edric, Fractured Identity, Heartbeat of Spring, Pack Rat, Scrap Heap, Scrounger, Narset, Parter of Veils, and Umezawa's Jite. Boy, I really like Fractured Identity, but man, Narset and Leovold makes draw 7s just super nasty, and then Jite is, quite good against some of the decks in the format.
Yeah, but I think with where you're at, I think you really want the Fractured Identity. Like this deck is looking for haymakers here.
Yeah, because we can cast them.
And you're a little short on them right now.
Okay.
One thing, the biggest problem I have here is we need more cheap cards and more or acceleration.
Right, because we have a lot of 5s.
Yeah, so we're kind of looking for those, some combination of those.
What kind of acceleration are you looking for in a deck? Like, we're not really looking for mana elves here, right?
No, like something like a Mox, would be really, really helpful.
Okay.
I mean, obviously it's a piece of power, but you do get to open power sometimes.
We'll see. Next is Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, Consecrated Sphinx, Craterhoof Behemoth, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, Ulamog, Infinite Gyre, or Gyre, whatever, Birthing Pod, Dark Confidant, Plow Under, Recurring Nightmare, Selfless Spirit, Spellqueller Vindicate, and Golgari Signet. Can I just take Jace?
Yeah, I think so. It's a 2-mana play. It's got Thoughtseize, Reanimate, Fracture Identity, Factor Fiction, Time Warp. These are all pretty solid cards to Jace,
Yeah, and it works well with Reanimate if we do get a good Reanimate target as well. It's also our first 2-drop. How do you like this deck so far?
Not great.
It's a little messy, huh?
I haven't really seen anything particularly powerful or anything particularly synergistic. I think the biggest opportunity we could have had is maybe go into something like Mono White, but I haven't really seen much of an entry except that.
Mono White would have been definitely the best deck that we could have had as far as win rate goes. We also could have taken shots at some of the Splinter Twin combo pieces.
Yeah.
But we kind of laid low. Next pack has Reclamation Sage, Land Tax, Mizium Mortars, Coalition Relic, Dark Depths, Direfleet Daredevil, Emery, Ledger Shredder, Aphiomancer, Yorion, Zeotor's Proving Ground, and a Leonin Relic Order. Relic?
Yeah, I think Relic. I don't love Relic, but it is a Relic deck.
Yeah.
as much as I don't want to be there, this is what we're looking like.
It
like
really is.
Haven't seen inroads into Reanimator, even though we do have the Reanimate and a Thoughtseize. Like at this point, I would be looking if we saw like an Archon of Cruelty or something to snap that off.
Yeah, for sure.
I would just take Coalition Relic here.
It does work well with our 5s. It lets us cast any of Time Warp, Solitude, Escape to the Wilds, and Fractured Identity. Ooh, here's a nice one. Flicker Wisp, Savai Triumph, Demonic Tutor, Coma, Liliana, Ulamog, Ceaseless Hunger, Marsh Flats, Seachrome Coast, Thassa's Oracle, Watery Grave, and for some reason, Ignite Memories.
Yeah, Ignite Memories is really something.
But D-Toots.
Yeah, I like Demonic Tutor here. And I mean, having Thoughtseize, Reanimate, Demonic Tutor gives us outs to do whatever we want within that realm. And also, when you have like Leovold in your deck, Demonic Tutor can set up maybe a draw 7 or something along those lines.
Yeah, I was just thinking we'll take Demonic Tutor now, and then if we ever get any good cards, we can search for them.
You can tutor for them.
Yeah. Game plan acquired.
Too.
Yeah, that was. All right, next up, Past in Flames, Treasure Cruise, Goldspan Dragon, Soulfire Grandmaster, Gilded Drake, Oblivion Stone, Infernal Grasp, Mishra's Bauble, Destroy Evil, and Mesmeric Fiend. I want to see if you break my streak of basically never passing Mishra's Bauble in the history of this cube.
I would take Mishra's Bauble here. It fills your graveyard for Jace. You've got a couple fetch lands. There's also just, you're not going to play any of these cards. If you had a couple more fetch lands, maybe Treasure Cruise, but even then, Mishra's Bauble with a fetch lands at 0 mana, like half preordained. That's a pretty good card.
Yeah. All right. Mishra's Bauble. I think this is probably my most drafted card from this iteration of the queue. I just never.
Yeah, the combination of you really like it, people don't take it very high, and
I play it in every deck.
Yeah, it's a nice combination there.
Yeah. All right. Mishra's Bauble joins Thoughtseize, Reanimate, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, Demonic Tutor, Knight of the Reliquary, Leovold, Coalition Relic, Faf, Solitude Time Warp, Escape to the Wilds, Fractured Identity, and still we're on 7 lands. We took all of those out of the first pack.
Yeah, and you Silent Clearing you got basically for free, same with Savannah and Godless Shrine. So you really just high-picked 2 fetch lands and the Triumph.
Whoa, heavy hitters here. Look at this pack. Mystic Confluence, Ashen Rider, which is a decent reanimate target, Sheoldred, which we just talked about, Sun Titan Char, there's the Mox Diamond, Ramanop Excavator, Mox Diamond's best friend, as well as Tireless Tracker and freaking Underground Sea too.
I would just take Sheoldred here.
All right.
I mean, I like Mox Diamond. If Sheoldred wasn't here, Mox Diamond would actually be my next pick here. You've got so many 5-drops, but Sheoldred is just so good against everyone. And having Sheoldred, I mean, just gives you a relatively efficient play that is also, I think, really effective.
Man, we could really use a draw 7.
Yeah, now we're definitely in the hunt for a draw 7 here.
All right, next is Stoneforge Mystic, Garruk Relentless, Kaido Shizuki, Kogla, Lavaclaw Reaches, Temporary Lockdown, Mystical Tutor, and a Skull Clamp.
I don't think I'm on Mystical Tutor. Well, you took Mystic Confluence instead of Sheoldred, apparently.
What? Oh my God, how did that happen?
That's why I don't use the reserve thing, because it just randomly doesn't work.
Oh man, I might have screwed that up. Dang it.
Well, we've got Mystic Confluence. It doesn't change this pick, because I would take Kaito Shizuki here. I found it to be pretty good.
Man, how did I do that? Oh, that's really annoying. I wanted the Sheoldred. I mean,
I know.
Mystic Confluence is still quite a strong card.
It's okay.
We just have way too many 5s.
Kaito's nice here because you've got Jace and Kaito as discard outlets, so you could set up some sort of reanimation thing.
All right, our wheel pack is here. It has Primetime, History of Benalia, The Wandering Emperor is still here, Hallowed Fountain, Raging Ravine, Sacred Foundry, and Wishclaw. I
think I would actually take Primetime at this point.
Probably just need it.
Yeah, and you've got the outs to reanimate it early, maybe. Like turn 2 Jace, turn 3 Primetime off of discarding it and reanimating it, which is pretty nice.
Okay. Yeah, I use the reserve thing on here just so that we can continue to talk, but I don't know if I just misclicked before. Resto, Archangel Avacyn, Elspeth, Knight Errant, Thunderclaw, Hellkite, Heartbeat of Spring, and Patrick Ratterson are the cards.
I would Resto here because it's a white card to pitch the Solitude, but also if you have Solitude, you can pitch cast Solitude, then Resto to blink it. And that's a pretty effective sweeper.
Nice.
Like kills 2 things and leaves you with 2 creatures in play.
Okay. So we need cheap cards, ramp, and some more powerful options. That's all we need out of our third pack.
You're just missing every aspect of the deck, yeah.
But we can cast them. If we open them, we can cast
You do have Demonic Tutor, so if you get like a Soul Ring, you could Demonic Tutor for it.
Good. Let's see. There's 5 cards left. Yeah, Birthing Pod, Recurring Night Pair, Vindicate, and Spell Queller. You want to Vindicate?
Oh, yeah. Vindicate's nice.
Is it?
I think it's a solid card. It answers anything.
I don't think I've played it in this iteration of the cube. It just like straight up 1-for-1s that are like sorcery speed and cost 3 mana.
Well, sometimes people just build a deck around one thing and you can vindicate it. It also,
True.
if you're on the play, vindicating a land is just sometimes pretty good.
That is true.
I think Escape to the Wilds is not going to make it because right now you have pretty good fixing for all the colors except red.
Okay. What do you think about Land Tax, Ephiomancer, Yorion, Sky Nomad, and Leonin Relic Warder?
I think I would take Ophiomancer. They're not only are there matchups where it's really good, those matchups are common enough that I don't even hate main decking it.
Oh, okay. But at the least we'll have it for the sideboard.
Yeah. And, you've only got one Planeswalker, but it is good with Planeswalkers.
To protect them.
Oh, interesting.
There's also Savai-Triumph.
I think I just take Savai-Triumph. I mean, you might end up with a red card you want to play in your deck. Okay. And I don't think you're not going to really feel the loss of a Flicker Wisp here.
No, probably
despite it making some top 50 lists.
Did it?
I think I saw a Flicker Wisp on there.
Oh, boy. Okay. Soulfire Grandmaster over Destroy Evil?
I guess I'd take Destroy Evil, but whatever. It doesn't really matter.
I'm going right in the sideboard. Okay, so end of pack 2. We've got the 8 lands. We've got the Mishra's Bauble, the Thoughtseize Reanimate, the Jace Vryn's Prodigy, the Demonic Tutor. We got Ephiomancer, currently main deck. Vindicate, Kaido Shizuki, Knight of the Reliquary. Is that still making the cut? Leovold, Coalition Relic, Factor Fiction, Restoration Angel, and then 5s are Solitude, Mystic Confluence for some reason, Time Warp, Fractured Identity, and Primeval Titan. And they are joined by Ramanop Excavator as the last pick.
Yeah, I don't think you're excavating here. I mean, I guess you could pick up a strip mine, but
yeah.
I mean, that pack went okay. Getting a Coalition Relic, Fractured Identity is not bad. Jace is not bad. Late Demonic Tutor isn't bad. You also have enough white cards that Solitude looks like you're going to be able to alternate cast it fairly easily. You have Vindicate, Knight of the Reliquary, all those things. Oh, all right. We got some action here.
Yeah, so the next pack, I'll read some of the cards that stand out. There's a Mana Drain, a Caracas. There's a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. There's, I guess, a Sylvan Caryatid and a Miscalculation. Just take Drano. Can we cast it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty easy Mana Drain. Yeah, I think you'll be okay at casting it. It's not going to be necessarily up on turn 2 every game, but you've got a lot of blue cards, and I think you can probably set things up such that you're able to drain. Plus, drain into a lot of your big plays is going to be really good.
We could wheel something decent here too.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to wheel Teferi or Caracas or Miscalc, but
then never mind. I guess we won't.
You could wheel Sylvan Caryatid, which might end up making your deck depending on how this looks.
Yeah.
Sylvan Caryatid is different from all the other mana dorks in that I don't mind playing it in a creatureless deck because they can't kill it. Part of the reason you don't want to put a Birds of Paradise in this deck, for example, though honestly you'd still play it, is that it just turns on their lightning bolts. But yeah, you would still play birds here.
Totally. We just need it. All right. So Mana Drain, pack 3, pick 1. Pack 3, pick 2. Ooh, some more bangers. There's Jace the Mind Sculptor. Karn Liberated, we talked about last week on the show. It's fallen quite a bit. There is Urza's Saga here, though, as well as Is It Signet? Wormcoil, whatever.
Yeah.
Just Jace it up?
I think I just take Jace, and maybe lean back towards a little more blue-white, splashing something, like Vindicate, like blue-white-black, like Esper.
Yeah, I mean, we still have Leovold here, but we still haven't actually found anything to really, it's just standing on its own, which isn't
a good
bad.
card.
It's a strong
still,
card.
But yeah.
But it's just that card gets really dumb when you abuse it, right? And it's a little difficult to cast in our deck. So yeah, we'll take Jace the Mind Sculptor, though. Weird, kind of a weird draft. There just hasn't really been anything to grab onto. No,
not so much. I mean, this is not turning out great. I won't say it is.
Yeah, but I mean, thinking back to the draft itself, what was open? Mono white a bit, but even then, most of pack 2 wasn't there.
Yeah.
All right, it actually took Jace this time. All right, next there is Balance, Golos, Phantasmal Image, Tolarian Academy, Vamp Tutor, Top, Bolus's Citadel.
Oh, I like Balance here. You've got a couple Planeswalkers, a kind of slow deck. You've even got 3 Planeswalkers if you count flipping Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
Oh, okay.
And it's a good way to catch up when they have a faster start.
Which they're going to every single time.
Exactly. So balance is perfect. Too bad that Mox Diamond's gone. I do love that combo.
Yeah. Oh man, this deck could definitely use a Mox Diamond, but that was what in pack one, I think. Okay, so we take balance. Next up, Endurance, Grist, Council's Judgment, Tezzeret, Fable, the Mirror Breaker, which we just talked about, Abrade, Boros Signet, Sakura Tribe Elder, Mirari's Wake.
As much as I love Fable, I don't know that you're supposed to take Fable here. I guess you have Arid Mesa, Savai Triumph, Verdant Catacombs. You have 3 red sources. I might just take Sakura Tribe Elder, honestly.
Just because we need something.
In the defense of having, like, you have 6 cards that cost 3 mana, and a 2-drop play is pretty necessary here.
All right. I'll take Steve. There's Crucible. Oracle Moldiah. Overgrown Tomb. There's Underworld Breach right next to Brain Freeze for you.
Breach next to Brain Freeze is pretty funny.
That's pretty good. Manamorphose. Snuff Out, which made, I think, Caleb's top 50 list.
Yeah, I don't have it quite that high.
A little high, but it has been good. So what can I take here? Can I take Oracle? Can I take Overgrown Tomb? Like,
I think it's Oracle. I'm a little lower on this card than I used to be for all the reasons we've talked about, but you don't need an Overgrown Tomb at all. And Oracle could be a way to get some lands into play,
Try to hit that 5th land drop. There's Echo of Eons. Finally, a freaking draw 7.
A little late on that one.
Yeah, Plateau, Gideon Jura, Augur of Autumn, Whisperwood, Skyclave Apparition. There is a Walking Ballista, a card I like quite a bit, but we're not really ramping very much.
No.
Mana Tithe.
Tidehollow Sculler is not terrible.
Wow. I didn't even see it.
There's also Skyclave Apparition. Those are both fine. Mana Tithe is actually not crazy, but I don't think I would take it here.
So do you like black, white for Sculler or 1 white for Apparition?
I think black, white is going to be easier to cast, and it's a 2-drop.
All right. And we do need cheaper plays. All right. Next up, we've got Lingering Souls, Monastery Mentor, Ancestral Vision, Wooded Foothills, Yawgmoth's Will, Expressive Iteration, High Tide, Dimir Signet, and a Utopia Sprawl.
So I do love Utopia Sprawl in these decks, but passing up on Wooded Foothills is probably not something you can do.
Okay.
Like, it's a 5-color land. I mean, it does everything that you want,
All right. We'll take it. Now we've got Regrowth, Scavenging Ooze, Winds of Abandon, Celestial Colonnade, Cryptic Command, Toxic Deluge, Witherbloom Command, and Swords to Plowshares.
Wow. Late Swords to Plowshares. Snap
Seriously. Yeah, I love seeing that.
I mean, this I think has actually picked up quite a bit.
This 3rd pack has definitely been our best
look, you have Balance that you can Demonic Tutor for. You picked up Swords to Plowshares, Sakura Tribe Elder, Mana Drain as all like cheap cards. And I think with 3 fetches and 2 triomes, like you're actually going to be able to cast all your cards pretty effectively.
Like we can still cast Leovold here.
Yeah, you can cast everything. You're not playing red, you're playing all the other colors. I think your Solitude's going to be fine here.
How bad is it that we have Mystic Confluence instead of
Shieldred?
Yeah.
I think it's actually pretty bad, but no, it's not. It's not terrible though. Like, not having Shieldred makes your mana a little bit better.
Oh, we did wield it to Teferi.
Teferi wield. All right, that I'm in for that. That's not bad at all.
I am surprised. Because you know what we needed? Another 5-drop.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, if it's probably not going to pick too much else up at this point, but if you got another cheap card, then I think you'd be pretty happy with the situation.
Man. And I love Mystic Confluence too. Like it's still quite strong when you get to 5 mana. It does the thing.
Yeah, you just really wanted a 4-mana play.
But Shieldred, fits so much better into what this deck has.
So what has this deck got going for it? Well, it's got Thoughtseize, Swords to Plowshares, Mana Drain as like kind of cheap interaction. Oh, this pack is all whatever.
Terrible. Wormcoil Engine, Hangerback, Takanuma, Through the Breach, Woe Strider, and Usher of the Fallen. Just Takanuma, I guess.
Yeah, I mean you're probably not even going to play it because I think you might play 1 basic swamp and for Sakura Tribe Elder, but I think I would still
and it can't be this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. There is a Golos here.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't think
Are we
Phantasmal
supposed to
Image is
take
looking
Phantasmal
great.
over it?
I think I would take Golos over Phantasmal Image here.
Boy, you do love a 5-drop.
Well,
I'm gonna put Solitude in the 0-drop slot just to make myself feel better.
sure. That works.
Good God, this is just a pile of Magic cards, isn't it?
Yeah, this is not exactly what I like to draft in Vintage Cube, but I mean, sometimes this is where you end up, I guess.
Yeah, I still am looking back, and there just wasn't any great handholds. Like I said, we could.
White was definitely. Oh, Council's Judgment. All right. I don't think you're going to play Boros Signet. It's like the only Signet you wouldn't play, or Red Signets, I guess. Or
yeah.
Well, so here's one thing. I think White was definitely open. You got an 8th pick Swords, 7th pick Solitude. You wield Council's Judgment,
right?
Wield Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, but like a lot of the cheap cards that you would want, I guess, weren't quite there. Though I guess Swords and Solitude are some of those cheap cards, so maybe that's not entirely true.
Last 3 cards: Grave Titan, Brain Freeze, Porcelain Legionnaire.
I think I'd take Grave Titan, even though I don't know
who you're
going to play it.
We're back to 2011, baby. Grave Titan and Primeval Titan.
Yeah, hand in hand.
we know how to win in Cube. Cast 6-drop creatures.
You have Mana Drain. Also, Golos makes Mana Drain better.
I mean, these still are very, like, it is a compliment to both Primeval Titan and Grave Titan that they're still, like, if you cast them, they're still very strong. Ooh, Mana Tithe.
Yeah, I think I would take Mana Tithe.
I
don't think you need. You certainly don't need Gideon, no. And I guess that's the.
I will not abide another 5-drop sorcery speed 5-drop thing. I wonder if we have enough playables.
Yeah,
30, so probably enough.
Well, the good thing is you got a lot of cards you would not mind cutting.
Yeah,
a lot of cuts to make.
We did set ourselves up for an easy cut session.
Yeah. See, you've got that. You've got that all locked up.
So you were saying we needed cheaper cards, which we did actually pick up enough of. We needed some way to ramp, which we did not.
Well, you picked up Sakura Tribe Elder.
Okay, we did. Ooh, Monastery Mentor. Is that making the cut?
I mean, it's good with Thoughtseize and Mana Tithe and
balance.
Okay, it's not the best with balance. I will admit that. But
oh man, just the old reanimate into Sakura Tribe Elder, into Monastery Mentor, into Chase. Oh man, this is a heck of a deck.
Well, you have some acceleration options. Like if you're on the play and you Mana Tithe their Birds of Paradise, you could reanimate it. So you got that going for you.
So you still think we're playing the reanimate, by the way, even though we have all these like exile effects and stuff.
Oh, you've got Jace and Kaito to discard your like Titans. Like, oh yeah.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if we're playing Reanimator just to try to get a Titan into play? Like we're thinking big here.
Yeah, you're doing the work.
Oh man. Yeah. We're putting in work, no doubt about it. We have one more pick to go, by the way. Okay, that was the last pick. Okay, so I'm going to take the lands and put them aside. And we've got 31 cards, including the Mishra's Bauble, which I'll put up here as well.
I think you're going to play Mishra's Bauble.
Oh, we're definitely playing it. I just was getting it out of the way.
Oh, sure.
So we'll start at the top. How about that? We've got Grave Titan and Primeval Titan. Do we want to play Grave Titan in this deck? Primeval Titan, I think we should.
So I think that one thing, I guess you're just going to play all the colors, aren't you?
Well, we're going to touch red for Golos at the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That might be it though. Like we may not have any red spells, but like we what do we have? The Savai Trial makes red, or which one was it? Yeah. So that's probably fine. We have, we can get red mana for Golos if we want it.
Can you sort by color real quick? I just kind of want to see.
I don't want to see this, but yes, I will do so.
Okay. It's just everything went all over the place.
There's
gotcha.
like 8 rows of things. Oh my God, this deck is funny. Wow.
Yeah, I guess you're just playing all the colors. Okay. That's fine. I was
thank
just
God
kind of curious.
Thank God we put all those picks into the. Yeah, our mana is a little rough. We have Secure Tribe Elder, Tide Hollow Scholar, and Mana Drain all at the 2.
Yeah, but you do have 3 fetch lands and 2 triomes and 3 duels. So you have three 3-color lands, 3 5-color lands, and a bunch of 2-color lands.
Yeah, my advice to myself is choose wisely with your fetch land because you're gonna have to get a triome most of the time, and it's gonna have to be the right one.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, do we want to play both Titans?
I kind of think we do. I think I'd cut Ophiomancer, Monastery. No, Mentor actually looks okay here too.
Yeah, I think it's in between. I would cut Knight of the Reliquary. I have no idea what it's even doing here.
Yeah, well, it ramps you. You play it on turn 3, and then it ramps you to 5 mana on turn 4.
I mean, kind of. But like, what if I have to sacrifice like
I would
Spar's
play
headquarters to it because I don't have a.
I would play Knight of the Reliquary over Monastery Mentor, honestly.
Okay, we'll cut that. Oops. Not a big.
You might not be able to get away with Mana Tithe looking at this list.
But we can get away with Council's Judgment?
Well, yeah, because Council's Judgment you cast quite a bit later.
Whenever we want. Okay, we'll cut Mana Tithe a little too narrow. That puts us at 28 cards.
It's a lot of cards.
It is a lot of cards. So start at the bottom. Bobble, yes. Thoughtseize. Do we actually want Reanimate? We just don't have a lot going for it. We do have a couple of ways, but like...
Well, so you've got... you can evoke Solitude and then reanimate it. You can discard Golos, Grave Titan, or Primeval Titan to Jace or Kaito Shizuki.
Are we actually going to play Kaito Shizuki?
I don't know.
We got 4 or 5 cuts to make here. Like, I don't think.
What if you cut Tide? I mean, if you cut Tide Hollow Scholar, like you could cut almost all the black cards. Actually, that's
what I'm thinking.
You could keep like Thoughtseize and Leovold, maybe.
Yeah, I think Reanimate is mediocre, and then we keep
Grave Titan too,
and then cut Gravy Train.
Yeah.
This puts us at 24, which is kind of...
Yeah, this is looking a lot better, I think. I think it's worth splashing Thoughtseize into Demonic Tutor still, because all you're going to do is play Leovold. And Leovold, because you're going to play a couple lands. Like, you won't play the Silent Clearing probably, but you'll play like... Well, you actually play the Silent Clearing if you have Golos and Primeval Titan to go get it.
I would play it. I think so. I think so, too.
Honestly, as much as I like it, you might have to cut Time Warp. This doesn't look like the best Time Warp deck.
No, it looks pretty bad. That puts us at 23 with the Bobble.
Yeah, I kind of like this.
Okay. So let's get the lands back.
Oh, this doesn't look that bad at all, actually.
This looks pretty bad.
You've got Swords to Plowshares, Mana Drain, Balance.
Yeah.
Bunch of powerful blue and white cards.
Yeah.
Splashing Secure Tribe Elder for fixing.
Just a bunch of nonsense, basically. Like this is like an absolute... like, what are you giving this deck?
Out of 10?
It's like a 2.
No, it's like a 4.
I mean, out of decks that you would actually take cards and draft. Like this.
Well, whose scale are we using?
Yours.
Like a 3.
Yeah, it's like a 3. I'm never getting these tickets back. That's all I'm saying. All right. So what do we put in for basics? Right now we have, this is like total nonsense for the people listening, but Spar's Headquarters, Silent Clearing, Savannah, Savai Triumph.
Just complete nonsense.
Godless Shrine, Breeding Pool, Wooded Foothills, Verdant Catacombs, Arid Mesa. And we need to somehow figure out we need a bunch of blue, right? Because we have just Spar's Headquarters, Breeding Pool as the actual like fetchable. Let's see what Magic Online says. It says 2 plains, 2 islands, a swamp, and 3 forests. We don't want the swamp though, right?
You probably need 3 islands.
Definitely.
2 plains. Yeah, you don't need a swamp, I don't think.
Do we need 3? It's 3 forests mainly because Primeval Titan has double, but we do need forests for security.
You could go 1 down, 1 green, and go up 1 more blue.
On an island? Okay. All right, let's...
When you trophy with this deck, that's all I'm saying. Just make sure to keep all your complaints in mind.
I'll probably record it and put it up on the LR YouTube channel just for the for the memes. Okay, here it is, our final deck. It's Arid Mesa Breeding Pool, 2 Forest, Godless Shrine, 4 Island, 2 Plains, a Savai Triome, a Savannah Silent Clearing, as far as Headquarters, the Verdant Catacombs, and a Wooded Foothills. It's followed by Mishra's Bauble, Source of Plowshares, Thoughtseize, Balance, Jace Vryn's Prodigy, Mana Drain, Demonic Tutor, Secure Tribe Elder, Council's Judgment, Vindicate, Knight of the Reliquary somehow, right next to Leovold, Coalition Relic. I feel like if I draw Coalition Relic, I'm good to go.
If you mana drain something, I think you're going to be in pretty good shape.
True. Resto, Factor Fiction, Jace, the Mind Sculptor, Oracle of Moldiah, Solitude, Mystic Confluence, Fractured Identity to Fairy. Okay. Golos, and then Primeval Titan. Thanks for the help, Luis.
Oh, you're welcome.
Great stuff. I better take a screenshot of this thing just so if I ever demonic tutor, I'll know what I can go grab. Okay, well, there's our decks. Like I said, I'll probably record these and put them up on the YouTube channel just for funs. But yeah. Let's call it a show there, Luis. I think we've dragged our poor audience through the mud on this horrendous vintage cube draft long enough. If you want to find us on social media, I'm Marshall_LR and Luis is LSV. If you want to find anything related to the show, it's lrcast.com. You can find our sponsor, TCG Player, and channelfireball.com. There's a link in our description as well for both of those. Luis, thanks so much for guiding me through this beautiful experience of this vintage cube draft deck. And we'll see how it goes, and we'll see you.
Do you think this deck would have been better or worse if you just took cards based on my top 50 over and over again?
We didn't see a lot of them, to be fair.
That's true. This deck was very short on cards from the top 50 cards in the cube.
There was no power, no Minskin Boos, no Okos. Like, there was not much there.
No, but you do have a Knight of the Reliquary. Did you factor that in?
I don't know why I have that in the deck. I'm going to have to sacrifice Trilands to it. And then downgrade them to basics, by the way.
There we go.
Is that your sign off? Was that it?
No, I haven't. I didn't think you ended the show yet.
I did. I said we'll see you next week. That's.
Oh, I was still talking about this deck. I was
I know.
Living in the moment here. No, for my sign off, actually wanted to hold myself a little accountable here. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned to you earlier, Marshall, I'm trying to eat a little better. Just the holidays and all that and just life in general being, busy, stressful, whatever. The usual excuses. Not that it's like that different from normal. So I've made a commitment to cook a lot more of my meals and kind of go back on the mostly meat and vegetable sort of thing. I had I actually sent you and Chi on a picture. I had a grilled chicken with some tomatoes and jalapenos and
looked great.
Some peppers for lunch, and that was good. So basically, I want to check in like a month and see how I'm doing. So this is me announcing it to you, Jeff, and a couple hundred of our closest friends. As actually quite a bit more than that, thanks to all the listeners. And 1 month from now, so the first episode in February, I'm curious to see how well I've done on that, because I go back and forth. Like, on the one hand, telling other people about a goal that you're trying to do can be helpful in that. Like, here, I'm trying to hold myself accountable, right? Where like 2 weeks in, you're like, hey, buddy, how's it going, right? How's your eating plan going? And I'm sitting there looking at a bag of Wendy's and being like, maybe I should get back to it, right? But on the other hand, it is true that if you like announce, I'm making a commitment to do this, I'm going to do this. It has been shown that makes you feel like you did more than you actually did, when all you did was say you're going to do the thing. But telling other people you're going to do the thing sometimes gives you the feeling of, I did the thing. Okay. But that's not the actual thing. The actual thing is doing the follow through and actually taking those actions.
Right.
So I'm gonna say that in a month I want to check in and see if I feel like I'm on a healthier path here, and if I'm not, then that's on me, and I'll have to reevaluate what I can do better. But I'm hoping the answer is yes.